Okay, I will call this workshop to order. It is right on the nose at 6 o'clock, which is nice because we tend to start the meetings a few minutes late. So first I'll call roll call. Matthew McGovern,
Here.
Terry Werner,
Here.
Sam Houston Clinton,
Here.
Mike McLeod,
Here.
and Laura Sanchez Fowler is not here. Okay, and then on the water board side, we have Doug Schreiber, who is president of the water board. Walter Kerslake, Joy Youngers,
Here.
Kathy Ives,
Here.
James Forcell,
Here.
Nick Styler,
Here.
and Jim Forcell. Did I say that right?
Right.
What's that? Fred.
B-I-N-U-E.
Just like it sounds.
Okay, and did I have Jim Forcell? Okay, okay. So we don't have any flags, so we can't do the pledges, but if you would please rise for the invocation. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord God, we just thank you for this opportunity to serve the public and to serve you, Lord God. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the rain. We thank you for Martindale and all of its citizens. We thank you for the coming rain. Heavenly Father, we just ask for your guidance tonight on this proceedings, that we can make you proud of how these all of the elected officials conduct the business, and we just ask for your guidance in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so oh Laura, good. So since we're not in our regular office, we are using my computer at work to just make a recording for minutes. So we're here tonight to discuss the Northwest River Road and the location of the water lines. And I'm going to turn it over to our city administrator.
Thank you, Council. By Corporation, pleasure to be with you tonight. I'm Jared Amble, I'm the city administrator. I've met some of you in person before. I haven't met you, it's nice to meet you tonight. There's a couple of readouts, handouts that were provided to you at your station. One of them has a big looking page like this, and the other is a little half sheet with budgetary information, things like this. The goal tonight to start is to be able to work on the same sheet. And to those ends, that's what we want to be working on this sheet, and going over some key facts and assumptions to make sure we're in understanding, because things change quickly. Things might have changed, even on the city side a little bit. So with that, we're here to discuss, try to brainstorm and solve, hopefully reach consensus if we can, is the problem of the projected cost of West River Road hazard mitigation project, and it exceeds the amount provided under the grant. So that's the problem over here. The projected cost of the Northwest River Road hazard mitigation project exceeds the provided under the basically and I'll get to the root causes: project delays, project design, and inflation has caused those projected costs to go. Inflation being the biggest factor. To go through it, I do want to go through several assumptions, and either we can validate those assumptions, and we're the first who are here, our engineer, your engineer, or at least agree on accepting that assumption for the purposes of trying to reach. The first one is the estimated cost of the water lines for relocation is approximately. I guess before I begin, I'm making an assumption that everyone's aware of the project. Do I need to recap, Steve, the scope of the project for the benefit of the board?
That would be good for the record. Yeah.
Okay, so The Northwest River Road project was initiated in 2018 as part of a hazard mitigation grant provided by FEMA. And the intent of that project, or any project funded under that grant, is to reduce hazards in the community related to natural disaster. And so for the city of Martindale, we identified flooding to be the main issue. When we worked with Mayor at the time, Robert Devine, and I, and some experts from Langford Community Management Services, and that one had engaged in engineering. We looked at projected projects. One of the projects we identified of being a good candidate was relieving the flooding, the frequent flooding on Northwest River Road, particularly between Lockhart Street and around the Shoe Tree and Esther. To solve that, that was the scope of the project when we submitted the initial proposal. We were lucky enough to receive a grant, a little over $6 million, I believe. And in that, had all the planning products. The design then began in full force after receiving the grant with our engineers. And at the time that project was going to go, initially was going to go all the way through Quail and fix some of the stormwater drainage at the Quail Run intersection, big ditch that flows like that. Also fixing the drainage, and then put in a water diversion from behind Plains Drive near the Shoe Tree that comes across the field. The comparison owns that field. It would divert water from going through the backyards of those drive, which happens frequently in significant rain events, and divert it into a stormwater collection system that would be placed along the S curve of Northwest River Road, coming back up towards the Shoe Tree, and then down Northwest River Road towards Main Street to the point of the cemetery, where that stormwater collection system would then dump near the Clayton Cemetery into the river. The design of the project, because of some of the constraints, physical constraints of the area, included putting two large box culverts within the right of way to manage all the stormwater that's being collected. And basically it runs underneath the road. The road will be rebuilt on top of that water collection system to Northwest River Road. I believe, and we'll talk about it later, the size of those. As the project progressed through the different design phases, it got to the point where we were listening to community feedback and input, and at the start, the water line was already in the right of way and it was going to be impacted by the project. And it was included within the budgetary scope of the grant. As we got through the design process, the water line shifting one side of the street to another was needed based on some easement and limitations you have regarding the interplay between the box culvert, the sewer line, the water line, all need to have their own space within. As we neared, as we actually really got to almost 100% design, and we're preparing the package for bid proposals, our engineering informed us that based on the final design project, the scope of the work would have fit within the construction budget that was approved. What once was going to be all the way down to Quail Run intersection has now reduced all the way back up into just the chute. The project right now is scope is only the chute Tree to basically the back driveway of the schoolhouse. The Lockhart Street storm system is out. Quail Run storm system out. The S curve storm system is out. The only thing that we're providing at this point is along that small street. That's all those costs. As we looked at descoping further to be able to fit the budget, in order to fit the budget, I mean of the 4.9 construction budget, the water line was identified as an area that was not going to be sustainable before. So at that point is where a month ago, we found this out. Within the week after that, we found it out. We had Steve over our office, informed him. And my understanding is that he gave me a preliminary discussion or information on, hey, there's some issue with the water line. The city's asking that the city of the water can fund it. And that would be a preliminary discussion. So this in a lot of ways is a follow-up to the discussion that your board had, in a follow-up discussion I had with city council about what are we going to do regarding these cost overruns and rescope. Did that help, Steve? Is there anything that I might have missed that would be useful?
There's multitudes of things there, but nonetheless, let's proceed.
So, first assumption, and some of the data might have changed, but I know when Steve and I had a one-on-one conversation, there might have been different numbers regarding the cost of the water. And so the first thing I want to do is to have a conversation with them. And so I'll start first with Thomas Kirk and Gary Freeland, who is right in for. Could you provide the latest number that you have for the water line relocation portion?
Yeah, so yeah, the last estimate we about 550,000. That includes contingency. Those numbers are based off of numbers that we're seeing on recent bid packages in and around the area. We use a couple different sources on our numbers. We use bid tab data, track USA, track that data off their website. And then we've had actually 2 different projects that have bid in the last, I believe, 3 to 4 months. And a range of about 7 to 8 bidders from those projects that have to have 8-inch water line that we use in unit pricing as well. And they vary, and ours is kind of an average unit price, erring on the side of concern.
And I know Steve talked with you, Richard, there's a thought that maybe that price a little based on some of the folks that you.
Is that price based on 4,900, 5,650, 4,650 linear feet?
That is about, I think, 700 linear foot.
I mean, we're talking from the shoe post to Lockhart Street, we're talking.
Well, that unit price is based on a range of projects varying from smaller to larger. So I think in our estimate here, it includes the overall project.
You're still basing
If it's less than that, then it would be proportionally less. But our estimate is based on the current scope of the project. And what we've done there is identified some areas of savings that we will create as bid alternates in the package to create some alternates within the bid that will allow us to maybe choose something more than the base bid.
So the original scope of the project was 4,650 feet, linear feet for the water line replacement. Now it's down to 1,600 linear feet. So our estimate, they're way below $580,242.40.
How much?
How much? The bid package is for $580,242.40. That's what was allocated by the GLO for the project. But that's based on 4,650 linear feet from Skull Road to Lockhart Street. The project doesn't encompass that anymore.
The current estimate that I'm saying is 550 is based on our unit pricing for the part of the project that is included in the current scope, which is from Lockhart down through the S curve, about 300 foot past the southern S curve.
So
If that southern segment is taken out of the project, then yes, it would be proportionally short.
If you agree on what's the linear foot project is for now.
The, our estimate is based on the blue line. It starts about this location here, goes up to this curve, and would terminate at the connection curve.
That makes sense, because that. Looking at
That's spot. Yeah, we need to put the alternate south of the shoe tree or out there, then proportionally all of those other improvements would be, but this was the total dollar amount for the scope of the project as it sits today, and we've identified cost saving measures in that scope as all.
let's pause there. So what he's talking about, all,
The gray area? Any blue line at all, and I don't.
it's meant to depict is just a little bit.
Thank you.
What he's talking about bid all. What he's saying is our base bid, because we think that's a minimal, we know for reasonable certainty we'll be able to afford, is just that. You know, school and most tree. What we're also having an alternate, like an option. That we're asking them to bid on pricing, and if the base project is in a affordable range, we'll add on that option, alternate. To do the asphalt portion. So what he's saying is that 550 includes both that base and that alternate option. And that's where there's a linear foot, there's potential over a linear foot discrepancy on those two projects, depending on if it's scoped for the base or for the larger.
Do we have a price just to the, from Lockhart to? Yeah, an estimate. A rough estimate,
Well, it sounds like, Steve, did you do some math on
yeah,
that?
to see how close we are.
Let me defer to my engineer.
What I did was I took, y'all's plans and gave it to contractors that, or water contractors. And, so I got a bid back just for whatever plans y'all gave me, I think it's 27 feet. From the S curve to the wash side. That's what-
The shoe pump.
Yes.
The first curve.
Yeah. So based on.
Sounds like it might go through this. Okay.
27 something. And so with the 20%, you're looking at about. So that was. That's where we're gonna get that. And so there's gonna be an additional fee for all the content that. The certifying that we get. So there's still some additional cost.
So your cost is just purely for the water.
Yeah. Go act like this, just put it in water, right?
So our cost estimate include, I believe, 5 or 6 new fire hydrants. That includes, I don't know the exact number, but it includes temporary services for one before the storm sewer gets installed, and then for permanent services after that. So if your estimate was 400,000, between the new sewer and Lockhart, and we're at 550 quarter, proportionally, I think we're. Yeah. in the same.
So for the purpose of the discussion, given that there's a chance the city might find an alternate. It might make sense to use that 550 number for the cost that we put in, because that alternate can't be executed, which we said has to follow the us. Would that make sense for solar board?
Could you just explain to me again? Is the alternate possibly coming from, and why don't we have a clear sense of what the scope is?
We are using some conservative cost estimates in our baseline. Oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes. Through competition, that price on it is going to come in a little bit less, maybe, than your bid. So, or your solicitation. So we do the cost assessment on this solicitation, they bid based on what's in this solicitation. There's a chance, if they did the petition. Or less, something like that, we say to ourselves, 400,000 less, 600,000 more, whatever it is. Hey, at that level,
You
we
could
might
get
be able to
more.
afford this alternate, and we can just, without having to go through a brand new solicitation, we can just add that to the, when we sign it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What's going on?
You realize that you have to follow the guidelines.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you don't have any amendments to it except for what you did in 2023, as far as I can see.
Amendments to.
To the actual contract, so you have to look. The contract that you have with the Globe.
Oh.
Okay.
The contract.
Mm.
The contract up to 500 is the contract that we. Contract you're right. City has the agency who's administering the grant on top of that.
But you're talking about changing the tenants of that Globe contract.
Yeah,
right?
and we're gonna get to that. It's our second, it's the very next agenda. As we go through.
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Because
It's gonna be hot on the heels of this, if we can, on what number we want.
550 is perfect, let's go.
That worked.
Yeah, did you say something, the city would fund it? I think you started a sentence, by saying the city would fund it. Did you say?
In the context of an option, if we put out solicitation for bid for the construction. The base scope of the project came in at a low enough figure that the alternate becomes financially feasible within the agreement with the city. The city could, as option, execute that alternate on the contract at the same time. Contract the full thing. That way, it reduces a lot of administrative overhead of doing. I'm just gonna put out a solicitation for this. Actually, now that it came in less, I mean, this other thing, you have to go through a whole new solicitation. This really reduces. That you could always leave yourself a little bit of ceiling. Alright, to your point, sir, the next assumption is under the contract providing the grant funds. The city may reduce project scope by removing the water line replacement from the grant fund. And for this assumption that hopefully validated, we're discussing, we're going to be Jessica. We can talk about how that would fit. What things that everyone can consider.
Absolutely, unique. So the story, there was already one amendment under this contract. I'm sorry, I don't remember which year it was, a minute ago. But there's been a lot of discussion with the city over the past year or so about different designs and changes to the scope. So GLO doesn't want anything submitted until we have a final plan set. Because it's a lot of work and a lot of paperwork for them as well as the city. And the support staff to put that through, and it takes GLO several months to process them and send out an amendment for the contract. So, but we do discuss it with the city, any hypotheticals. We have a monthly GLO project. With GLO project manager, and they're aware of what gets talked about. And we would never do anything that would impact the eligibility of the grant for the city, which is beneficiaries.
Well,
So is there any concern then about removing the water line up with the grant, or is that a requirement the city has under the?
It's not a requirement per se. There's a lot of times their scope reduced in scope for these projects, because I mean, you have to remember this project was application was done in 2020. It was a long time ago. It increased in cost of materials. Almost every single project GLO has is having to reduce scope. Just get them out the door.
But it wasn't even signed till 2022, the initial.
Yes,
Right.
the application was in 2020, October 2020, and it took GLO that long to get the contract out. They had to score it, or verify it, so the city went through. And then it just, that's how long it takes GLO to issue a contract. So yes, it was executed in 2021. The application was done October.
So would you lose the $580,000 that's in there, or would you reallocate it?
It would be reallocated. It
Okay.
would still be in the construction
But
budget.
that takes several months, but the contract expires the end of January.
We currently have an extension request in right now.
It's been approved, so the new extension is January. 27th. New.
Well, that's good, dude.
But it is final extension that you'll put out for this project.
But only when. Where would it be reallocated?
Be reallocated to the funding the project.
The rest of it?
The rest of it. So at this point, even to just get to the base from the shoe tree to Lockhart Street. That's where we expect that's probably what we'll be able to afford unless we get some lucky breaks. That's probably all the skills we're gonna be following up on the estimate, seems to be hope. And that's probably gonna be it, it's gonna go funded towards the box culverts and storm systems.
I have a question. Is that appropriate?
No, we're not taking questions from the audience, and we're letting the council and the water department speak.
So if we get this money reallocated from the water company, are we going to you don't think we still are not gonna be able to extend around the shoe tree? We don't
I
know
think
yet.
the engineer's opinion would be.
That's a good point.
So cutting to the chase, the whole purpose of this right now is to see if we being Martindale Water Supply Corporation, wanna pay for that water change of $550,000, correct?
Well, the problem we're trying to solve tonight is what to do about the water line and how to account for it with the project. So who funds it, how it's funded? We want to wait until we have some baseline facts of what, so we're all working on the same sheet music on what we.
So what's wrong with funding it the way it was originally intended?
We can't. The project fails, it's unaffordable with that.
Well, I guess you don't do it.
Well, so maybe that's a good segue. If you mind, Mayor, you mind if I jump down to the last item's page?
Yes.
Okay, wait, Gary, don't also mention, remember we reduced the size of the loan.
Yeah,
We were reducing costs throughout.
Yeah, we did that, and, we'll talk about that, we'll have three. But if we want to your point, sir, look at item. If the project is canceled, the city will default on the grant. And then based on that, it would burden the city with all expenses paid to date, which is approximately $700,000 to $1 million. Is that a correct characterization?
Yeah, the current spent today is $631,630.
$630,000.
And have a potential bad between Langford and the engineer.
Well, I don't think we have that.
Is it?
It doesn't matter. It's spent.
It's spent already.
It doesn't matter. We don't have that breakdown.
And I canceled it. We're having one Thursday. Happy to answer that. Defer that. My point of just focusing offline is because the issue presented, that the assumption presents and the water board was bringing to light is, well, if you can't afford the project, then you can't afford the project, so what? The so what is, I don't want to validate this assumption, the city would be on the hook for that $631,000 expenditure that have been funded by the today.
So that is a real possibility. To be completely honest, in my 11 years of Langford, my own firm never happened. But the city did enter a contract with GLO to do this work. So GLO could come after you've been paid back to $631,000, and then they'll take away.
And we would never get a grant again.
You've done our budget, that could actually put the town in a downward spend deposit.
Oh, I mean, it would deplete all of our cash. All.
We're not part of the city. The Martindale Water Supply is not a part of the city. We're a separate entity.
Yes, you are separate.
And you
However,
know,
the customers are the same, at least 400 customers.
So what you're asking us to do is you're asking us to assess our members, which we have about 1,000 of them, $550 per meter, so that they can avoid a $600 or $650 loss that you would assess them effectively by having to not do this contract. It's just math.
I think we're saying it's not an option to not do it.
They have 1,000 metered customers.
1,000-meter customers, but there's only 400 utility customers
That's
total.
But they look at it from an entity standpoint.
So what we have to do as a board is go to every member and say, because the city didn't manage this project properly,
That's incorrect. We did manage it.
It's a valid concern.
It is, and I get it. I get it. We said, when we got the contract for the grant, we said, you won't have to pay for anything. We will do these water lines. What we found after 4 or 5 years is the costs have risen. So now we're coming and saying, we need help. That's why we're here, is to try and come up with a solution on how to lower the costs of what has to be paid for construction so that we can continue the project. Because it's really not an option to not do the project. And when it's done, we're gonna have a beautiful road, we're gonna have water mitigation. It is gonna be a good thing for the city and for all the residents.
The
So-
beautiful road in front of the mayor's house.
No, it's not going in front of my house. It's not going in front of my house.
So going back, but would it be okay if we accept the assumption? I granted it is based on a GLO approval, but for the purposes of the conversation. That the GLO would accept the reduction in the contract. Removing the water. I think that's something that. If the water line, basically to. One of the points that Steve has made is you cannot remove the water. I think we heard tonight from our grant administrator is you probably can't. And it'd be unlikely that you would not be.
The water line needs to be funded.
Okay.
Right.
So let's talk.
Let's go through.
Suggestion, let's go through this presentation, like what you were talking.
We're gonna start down before now. But this next one, I want to confirm with the city council because this becomes, as we look at alternatives.
No crossing.
Something that we have to look at. So assumption 3, my understanding is that the city does not intend to redesign the project by reducing this culvert size. Right now, it's a double barrel culvert system. Down the street. There's no intent to reduce that 2 down to 1, which would reduce the capacity of the drainage end. Nor make any other modifications to kind of so on. Guess I'm looking for validation from council that that's something. Or if it's not, then.
I have a question regarding the modification, the second grant that was done.
Yeah.
We have that set up in a 2-phase situation, one being the bridge. And then the rest, the extension of the road. You have to bear with me because I don't remember the exact breakdown, but I think I know what it is, but can we reallocate that stretch to the S curve to accommodate this?
My concern would be the timeline. We're gonna have to start the shovels in the dirt real soon. And the project has to be complete, wrapped and closed out in January 2027, but just if you have any thoughts on that, and then maybe. Here,
So, I'm sorry, can you?
So there's a modified, there's a modified grant that we got, there was an extension of this. That was supposed to accommodate for inflation and construction cost increase, so. It was for 2.837, 2.375 million. And 1.5, if I correct, was roughly 1.5-ish was for the bridge. And roughly 700 was for basically where the end of this project was into the continuation to Quail Run. And that was trying to make the project whole. You know, we spent a lot of time trying to find other better projects, to be honest with you, but the math was very, the piece of the puzzle didn't work real well. Regarding that stretch that we're talking about that we weren't going to do, I would like to compress that back and bring it back into the S curve. And I believe it's 700,000 for the S curve was for the extension. And that would alleviate this situation that we have right now. There'd be a cash flow problem. But
So what we're talking about is we had a second part of the grant that we were awarded just a little bit over $2 million. And so what we were going to use that for was at the end of River Bend to widen the road. That's not a bridge. It's a poured structure that is crumbling and has to be replaced. And so we allocated the money to do that. And then there was going to be a little bit left over that we were going to fix the culvert at Quail Run and Northwest River Road. So that's the 700,000 that.
no, the I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the actual,
Okay.
that was from the subdivision is fixing the culvert.
The subdivision is.
Remember, that was the deal. We got out of that because they agreed that was part of their deal. They had to fix the subdivision. Mike was trying to get them to upgrade it and they balked at that. But we had the money to continue to, I mean, we knew it was going to be tight, whether we were going to have enough money to cover that. We knew that that was in play. We talked about that. That was going to be 50 to 100,000 short potentially on the grant. But is there a way for us to?
Separate funding.
Council governments for cost.
It's very, very unlikely that Jill will let you change that at this point. On one side, but the other is the time, like Jared said, this project. The expiration date is January 27, but it really needs to be done at least 4 to 5 months. Out. So, ELO issuing out the method distribution contracts, they're way behind on that. I don't think the timing will go out.
No, that's ultimately what my frustration is, because the last time council voted on this was a year ago. So I did get to vote because obviously I'm an affected party because I live on Rochester Road, but I looked it up. I have the notes from the meeting. I mean, this is 1 year to come to this term, quite honest with you. I'm frustrated and disappointed. You know. Well, I'm getting appraised and that wasn't done till August. Okay, so that was 8 months later. We're creating our own problem. The timing is ours, not theirs. It's our problem. We have to solve it from that standpoint. I mean, I don't know how to figure this out. It's not good for anybody in this room. You know what I mean? I totally get your position. I've been frustrated both ways. I'm more frustrated that we're having this conversation a year after the fact. You know, my property still hasn't been resolved at this point, and it's been a year. You know, so we need to, you know, we're creating our own problem. The timing is ours. You know, it's created from not them, us. And you know, council, we don't have anything to do other than vote on things. You know, but it's very frustrating to sit back and, you know, all we're doing is paying more money every month that goes by. We all know
So
it.
there is a process, and so some of these properties had to have appraisals, and then the appraisals have to go through the attorneys. And that's where we're at right now on the property before you even get
Mhm.
the suggestion of what you would be awarded. So it just all takes time.
So let's talk about the time again. So you've been notified that we received the, but we have not been contacted. Assuming.
The second one.
The second one. Assuming that it gets contracted before we put the bid out. Could we modify it at the time that we get that contract to for this, like, could we make a modification at the time of contract? To that,
A while ago, I would have said yes, but GLO is really pushing back on that and denying a lot of changes. For new contracts, the method distribution specifically, so I can't say for 100%.
we can
for
push it back on other method distribution. projects.
changing the scope right after the contract, yes.
You change. Like, they sent us a contract, we got signed, and say, we're on the sign.
We might restart. with-
Then you could ask for what you need for money. You wouldn't default on the existing one. And you could just move forward with an adequate supply of money, and you wouldn't have to come to us in November
So, but
and
the-
tell us that we're up against the wall, we need $550,000. Can you provide it to help us out? Because that's what you're really doing. The bottom line. And you may not view it that way, but I certainly do. And my number one priority as a board member is to watch out for my members of the Martindale Water Supply Corporation. And if I have to go out and say, hey, we need $550 from each of your meters in order to do this project that's been delayed continuously and doesn't seem to be getting liftoff, how do you think those board members, or how do you think the members of Martindale Water Supply are gonna feel about this board not defending them properly?
That's exactly why we're here.
You know,
And everything you said is completely valid and true. They came to you in November, said, we got a problem, we have a budget shortfall, are you able to help fill? And,
Jared,
and that, I agree. That on its face, really unfair, right?
well, life isn't fair,
Yeah.
but
That's
it seems to me as just a regular person, if you've had since 2022 to get this ball started and you're still languishing, there's something fundamentally wrong. That's what it seems like to me. I'm just an outside observer.
Yeah, and I think maybe a lot of people in this room would agree with that.
Well, I can agree with that the government isn't always in your corner, but you should have jumped on this right away.
And we did. We did. As
just
soon
doesn't
as we
seem like
found
it.
out that there was a shortfall, we came to y'all and said,
Yeah, you came
We
in
need-
November after
we-
having the project in place since 2022.
yes.
Because the last thing there's only, I think only the land, the easement is the only thing that's preventing us at this point from going out to bid. As soon as that easement acquisitions are complete, the two property owners along Whistler Road, this thing hits the street and we go to contract and shut the start as soon as,
But they haven't even gotten their estimates yet, and then they still have to negotiate those estimates because
as the mayor was saying, there's been a process with them, there's been some.
I'm not saying that's anyone's fault. I'm just saying that I don't think it's gonna be as like, boom, and then we're ready to go. Our shovels are in the ground. They haven't even gotten a number yet.
somehow,
The,
Shortly.
I can't say like tomorrow. Hopefully before the holidays, I can't say, but that's gonna be the case, because there's some situations that we're working through. But the moment that those are accepted, those get provided to the homeowners. And this, they sign the piece of paper. Like tomorrow. Air quotes. The bid goes out.
Can I clarify two questions about the funding that it's? So one of them is, if we were to write and ask for an extension, like what are the odds that we will get that extension? Is it like 100%, like that, like we just need
We
to,
just got an
Yeah.
extension.
but then we were talking about amendments and those don't require any kind of. Okay, and so are they likely to get the amendments approved, or are those going to be sticky because you're changing the scope of the project?
If we were to reduce the scope, we can talk to GLO about that, and that is more likely, yes, to get huge, because we need the project done on that. As long as it's still serving the beneficiaries, which would be, GLO, that's their main concern, and then if we can get the project done on time, or we have to do the environmental review, if we reduce.
So, okay, fine, no problem. So then, I guess my other two questions were, one, what about if you have a property owner that doesn't sign? I know there are two that are kind of sticky. And then second part of that is, so then my second part of that question, while you're thinking about that answer, is, where does the county road project come in? I thought they were doing Quail Run.
They're going Quail to 1984.
And then what part were we just talking
The
about?
S curve to Quail.
To Quail.
So they were doing the remainder. So one of the mayor basically went to, if I'm correct, you correct me if I'm wrong, you went and proposed that to the county when they did the road bond, was to put that as part of.
From the Quail to Highway 80.
Yeah, which is 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was.
And then
they
we'll
asked
go-
for input.
So, yes, I remember, but I'm just saying, like, I thought you were just saying, when you were saying then there was gonna be 700 left. So we thought maybe we
We're-
would
we're
do the
spending-
culvert
we're spending-
repair, but
yeah.
I thought the county was doing the
No.
culvert repair.
No.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
They're
That's
just
fine.
resurfacing.
Yeah, they're doing.
Well, they're doing more than resurfacing. They've allocated $2.2 million in the bond to rebuild that portion of road from
But
Highway
not-
80.
But not the culverts.
No, in fact, since the grant is taking care of that bridge at River Bend, they may be able to go further. And we're talking to them now. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but since they will be saving money there,
The county.
the county,
Gotcha.
then we may be able to go further.
Back towards the
Everything's a negotiation.
Okay, okay, all right, and so then back to that don't sign, then what is your next stop?
Which we've done everything we can. We've really worked with the community to everybody happy. And the engineers have changed the design 5 times. And we came up with a design that we felt like worked. And everybody was happy with, so. We had a lot of paperwork to do that too.
Yeah.
Beg to differ. We have not been kept in the loop about this issue from the day of the conception of this project. Richard and I were called in 2021, 22, when this project was initiated. And at that time, there was $580,000 allocated from Quail Run to Lockhart Street to cover the relocation of the water lines, and included about several fire hydrants, and we were all enthused about the project. And then in a year and a half later, Richard and I met with you, Jared, and you reiterated that the project was still funded for the Water Supply Corporation. And then on November 4th, less than 2 months ago, we were told that we had to go and get a loan to finance $580,000. You can't come and ask an entity that has a budget to finance $500,000 when their entire budget is only $1.4 million, including debt. That's not going to happen.
On number 5 on our list, let's go ahead and check that off as validated. Which
I
is
haven't-
the
I
one
haven't
that
actually-
Supply Corporation. To relocate the water.
I haven't actually finished.
Let me, can I make a suggestion here? Jared.
Let's let Steve finish. Just Mike, we'll let him finish first.
So there are other options on the table as presented by the engineering firm for the city. There are different phases of this project that are on River Road that are less expensive and less onerous as far as impact on the water supply corporation that would be cheaper. Has that been evaluated? And
That's exactly what that is.
is that a factor?
One, this is something I made to spur the conversation, so this is exactly to the point. Does the city intend to redesign the project to reduce the cost? Culverts being one of the big cost of that to accommodate the cost of the water. That led to the question, which kind of skips ahead to assumption 6. Funding for new existing grants will not be available at default on the current grant contract. We never really, we hadn't quite resolved 6. But sticking with number 3. To your point, Steve, is a city want to entertain redesigning the project, such as reducing the culvert size to assume the cost of the water?
And I think we, as a city, also need to remember that we won this grant. It was a competition award. And the reason that we got it was to mitigate water. So that's why we had the double culvert system, was to carry as much water as possible.
The reason why this is here's an assumption that I'm pretty sure is that is because this same conversation came up when we were discussing easements with the community. We had, I think, 3 town halls, maybe 4, on that specific issue of the width of right of way, the width of easements, and that was being impacted by the number and size of culverts that are being put in that space. And one of the options presented was we can reduce the size of the easements, reduce the right of way. I don't know, maybe it's the easements, but reduce the impact on property owners by squeezing the project down with only one culvert system. And the decision at the time, which was just last summer, was no, keep it 2 culverts. Because we want to do that water. I think it's something in the different thing. It can handle rain from a 10-year event versus a 2-year event. The 2-year event isn't a whole heck of a lot. And so you still have flooding, which is pretty easy in that area. If the city still feels that, then we can accept the assumption that there's no modification and proceed further. But you're hearing the water board by mistake. Director Lisa. They want the city to make the change. To accommodate it. Maybe we'll put a pin in it. Because there's another issue that gets raised related to it. Is that there's an assumption that the city might require Martindale Water Supply to relocate the corporation's water line at the corporation's own expense to allow for the widening or the change in right.
So are you saying you would sue us in order to force us to accommodate that?
I hope not.
No,
I'm trying.
It's a yes or no. It's not a,
That is based off of what's in the statute regarding water utilities within the right. So water utility in the right of way is subject to the text stop of county. The county says you move it, you have to pay for it.
Hold on.
As it relates to a city, the city has that same authority, not saying it would be exercised. But we can all, but for the purpose of the discussion, I think it's appropriate to acknowledge that that's something that's out there. Now, that I think would be a horrible way to proceed.
right, but you're saying you have the option to do that, should you choose.
Jared,
What I'm trying to show is that there's a pretty hard box that, that everybody's being placed in. It is, if the city defaults on the contract, you lose $630,000.
it's probably the city,
The city, yeah.
it's probably the residents. But you're saying. We just told you that the finances aren't there. So how can you say that we have to go to litigation, so we have to move?
Be litigation. All I'm trying to do is acknowledge that statute.
Well, you wrote it down.
They were trying to put the facts down.
So
why wouldn't the city acknowledge that they need to minimize the project to get the water lines moved with the grant that you guys signed up? I was part of it. I understand what's going on here, but that is ridiculous. Absolutely
This
ridiculous.
isn't a proposal.
I know, but it's just like,
Nowhere on the
I think since the water board's here, I think you guys all understand what's going on here. We don't have, the money's not here, so we can't fund it. If you came to us a year ago, hey, we could get you a grant, cause it looks like we're over budget. We could help you out with the grant administrator and get you some money to move this, but it's, the time's now, like it's November, so you can't put us in the corner and say, hey, you gotta pay this money.
We're put in the corner too, and that's why we're
You
coming and
signed-
asking
you
for help.
Signed up for this, city signed up for this. I understand that it's a bad position, and I don't wanna see it happen to the city.
And
either.
we're hoping that we can continue to work together to find a solution
But
to
you
this
just- You
problem.
just had a solution and you just said, the city assumes,
No.
I know,
I
let me
was saying
finish.
something that highlighted. There was the potential
But
for
that,
the city to
that
modify
was, that sounded like an avenue to go down, and I think that's an avenue that everybody on the board would like to see. To then make this happen.
Let you do your presentation.
Oh, that's the result. I think the rest of this is. I think we're accepting the fact that that statute exists. Water Supply Corporation number 5 doesn't have the ability, that's been discussed. We discussed that the funding would be viable or feasible at this time. The only option that we haven't explored with that one is, does the city pay for it and get reimbursed by a grant after the fact before the contract? I don't think that's possible.
Sounds good.
So then we get to, you know. Say the city proceeds recklessly and puts the dang thing in the ground. Without the water company. Either the city or the water company financing the water line, well, customers want to use water, that's not acceptable. And then we already validated.
For speaking relatively does not sound very good, Jeremy.
No.
I mean,
Quite literally, turn the page. So, we have four options. To discuss them.
Yep.
Do nothing. Martindale Water Supply Corporation accepts the full cost for their opinion. The city accepts the cost for relocating the water lines. Or they should share split costs. Those are, unless there's other alternatives that we want to get into. Like some sort of larger contractual relationship with other things. Those are the four options we have. Do nothing, kick the can, and problem still glaring us in the head because we want to have a. Come the end of that land acquisition phase, this thing will be the only thing holding us back from going forward with the thing. And we have a $600,000, maybe at that point, $700,000, depending on how the land acquisition goes, if those completely closed. $1 million, that's at the city's head. If you default the contract. I don't think that's really something we consider. Or one of us pays for it, or we split it in some way.
Can we go to the topic, share split cost between water companies and city? Can we discuss that part of it?
So,
For example, I talked to Dan. And, y'all guys could maybe get I'm not an engineer, but if we have a ditch already open and. Is there cost savings there if, say, the water company finds a better deal with the subcontractor? They've done this before. They know the cost, they've done this, we don't do that, and they find an economical way to go with material contract. And then perhaps with that contractor, working with the other contractor. And you've already got say it's open, already open. The most of the cost is digging, you've already got that, maybe there's cost savings there. Okay,
there's a way that we talked about, where we could have this as a part of the solicitation, broader solicitation. That would be fine. what's that, what you call it? The joint bid.
Yeah.
There's something that we can.
Because these guys, that's what they do.
They can do a bid separately and get their own costs and separate bid, we see.
Our engineer already expressed his opinion, and that would be our staff's opinion of the cost of this project is $400,000. And so that's out of the scope of our realm of the ability to pay on short notice like this. So that's
So
the
we're
answer.
talking about cost bearing, and on the. This is why I had those assumptions in front, I wanted to agree on the number. 550,000 would be agreed.
400 to 550,
There we go.
it's all the same big,
all the same.
big
It's
ball of
more
money
than
that
you
nobody
have.
has.
Yeah,
Yep.
no one has it.
So, to your point, yeah, we could put it. Now, would there be any interest in a cost sharing agreement with between the board and the city?
It's not our expense.
We didn't sign a deal.
It is your expense because it's the water lines.
Is there
What
anything
do you
wrong
mean?
with the water line right now, Richard? Nope, not a thing. Water line works fine.
Well, unfortunately, at the time, the money was all there before inflation, before COVID, and we thought we had enough money to do the water. But now, as I explain, things have happened, but I'm gonna say, we need to come, instead of getting adversarial towards each other, let's come together and do this, let's have a conversation and find a way to reduce the cost. Maybe there's other ways we can reduce the cost, multiple bids or whatever. But if you already got that area exposed, that has to be a reduced cost, which we have to do to put the culverts in. Therefore, there could be additional savings once that area is excavated.
Mikey, Mr. Gallegos basically said it was about the same problem.
So where is the emphasis on the other alternatives that were expressed by Tom and Turk and Freeland? There are 3 other options for this drainage ditch. One is near the mayor's house and the one is near Mr. Matthews' house. And so those others are closer approach mains to the river. So why aren't those part of this package?
Because those were discussed on during the town halls, and they had land acquisition components to it. And then also some engineering stuff, which I'll let them get into, but it was discussed at length with town halls and the members of the community. And the city council chose not to do those things for a variety of reasons. Regarding the engineering aspect of it, my layman's terms is because it's hard to make water go where it doesn't want to go. And then
The natural drainage ditch is next to the bend by the property by the mayor's house. That's the natural drainage area there for that area of Northwest River Road. That's where the drainage ditch was all along.
No, it comes down Northwest River Road to the ravine between the 2 cemeteries. That's where the
there's
majority
there's
of
probably two
water.
drains.
Right, so
So
maybe,
so one that doesn't, might solve, I'm not sure, is the Plains Drive.
so maybe one's
That
cheaper.
northwest river road.
We did look at that, Steve. One of the issues, the biggest was that we're doing construction, I'm stepping on your toes. We are doing construction in the floodway. And the cost to do that is like what Jared's referring to is putting water where it's not naturally supposed to flow. And so even though there were options on paper, they were not viable because you could, in theory, not construct them because you can't construct in the floodway.
And of the 3 options that were presented to city council, whatever the city chose to do, they have to maintain. Just like the water department has to maintain water line, we have to maintain whatever we build.
Well, I have to defer to my engineer as far as the location of floodway, but I have the maps in my office and Richard can provide those maps with me. The floodway is variable along Northwest River Road, so I'm not intimately familiar with where they actually are along there, but it's in various locations. So.
Can I make a suggestion? Is there a way that our engineer can talk to your engineer?
Well, that's where it should have been going on all.
Is there any way that you're all engineers here? You know the project, and you guys are the experts, work together and find a way that we can reduce the cost. Perhaps, and since you guys are experts in water, perhaps a way to reduce the cost. Working over engineer, and maybe join discussion.
I think one of the problems is there's still stormwater management. Indicator. So even if we divert water down to the. Right, isn't there still a water? I remember back to those early options. There'd still be a small collection, a stormwater collection system. It wouldn't be a full culvert. But it was, there'd still be something.
It isn't necessarily cheap.
It wasn't,
It's a
it was actually more.
Basically, if you try to discharge into the San Marcos River in a different location, you have quite a vertical kind of lot, housing on the lot. And to get, several hundred CFS kind of bluff is not an easy thing to do. You got to harm it. It made sense to place the proposed drainage system along the alignment of the existing channel. I mean, and if you choose to do something from higher, well, today, there's some legal. That, we did explore these options, we did talk about, we did go over the pros and cons. This is not new, it's just something we did, 18 months ago.
But no matter where the water was discharged, you still need gabions or riprap or something to absorb that.
Discharging into the ravine between two cemeteries. And we have farming and dissipation devices and what have you, but it, they're a lot smaller and cheaper compared to some other outfall going into the San Marcos River in a different location. It's an entirely different problem to solve. So the slope is less at the cemetery?
Yes. It's a
Yes.
much lower elevation. It's a much lower elevation. It's already down about 50 feet.
That's what reduce the velocity coming out of the culverts to match the velocity that exists today. So we are doing some armoring. It would be nothing compared to a new outfall over.
And that's an actual flow, that's in thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Well, the only thing I'll say about the culvert at the cemetery, which we saw in 2015, when the water was coming off of field one, and it was coming down the river, the dam blocked the water, and the water was coming back up the ravine from the river. And it was also coming from the road and the field itself, and so the waters were almost meeting right there in the middle of Northwest Road. And so the culvert though is existing and in use, but we still have other problems with the cemetery, and that is completely clear of having the use of that. I mean, we're talking about the pipe, but still there's easement issues, land acquisition. We're talking about water. I know, but there's other things that will make this project take much longer time.
Yeah, our work is not done. Yeah, we know that.
We're trying to.
We're working on those.
Drop the water.
So doesn't take an expert to recognize that the water board is against paying a dime for this project. That's what I'm getting pretty bad.
I'm not gonna do anything. It's a lot of money. I mean, what if we were even say, hey, here's $50,000? I mean, it's not like the budget is done and there's not a lot in the budget. And there's not any room for.
We're talking about half our budget for 2025. That isn't gonna happen.
How's that?
How, the water line's fine.
How old is the one?
It was put in the sixties.
Let's focus. The city accepts the cost through the loan. Pays through it, pays for it through its current budget, new loan, or similar. There, we do have cap reserve. To potentially go towards deplete area. And that would be, it could put the city at serious financial risk by doing. We basically be taking the city back 10 years. By doing, this would put us post flood. Where, you know, the claim was the city's bank. They weren't necessarily bankrupt, but they weren't a good financial. Fund this project out of cash on hand. Would essentially be. But it's feasible. And we could do.
I'm gonna still propose that we modify the second grant to finish the S curve, so that's my solution to this. I'm sorry I wasn't here last
like
week
it
to have
was
this conversation with the person, because
I thought the grant writer said that we couldn't modify the grant.
Unlikely.
We could always have a conversation with GLO, but from what we've already been hearing, it most likely we will receive a no. Most likely.
Excuse me, you're saying we can't narrow the scope of the project?
No, we can reduce the scope for the current mitigation competition grant that we're discussing now, but for the method of distribution that's been awarded but not contracted, we believe that GLO will not be that's.
The $2 million.
This method of distribution grant comes from the Austin Area Council of Governments, which is funded in a different way from the same source, GLO. So the GLO has, when it's contracted, will have two separate contracts. One for this project, one for West River Road project, and another contract or separate project that would replace the bridge by the port. That's scary. And then there's some left over on that, and we said we would extend the project of the Northwest Road project from other ends to do a asphalt overlay over the existing, just to try to smooth it out with some. So the question is, are we able to use that second contract that's come that we expect to have, modify it, and so it's no longer an asphalt overlay project. It is instead contributing to the water line relocation. And so what the conversation on that was, GLO has been saying no to other cities who also receive this method of distribution grant to modifications immediately after or at the time of contract. And so based on that history, we can probably assume that they want to say no to us. What that does is it says that those other funds that might otherwise be available, that Matthew was pointing out too, are not available. So it would be truly the city paying for it out of savings account.
Or take out a loan.
Or we take out a loan. To take out a loan would require an election. And it would have to pass an election, be approved by the AG's office, because it would basically give you a public debt.
Cities do that differently. We were asking them to do a loan. We have no debt, none.
But we're taking on debt to pay for a utility that we don't own.
Because it's getting damaged by a
And so-
project that we designed without their input.
We had their input.
We have
talked
been-
this this thing was, their water line was funded up until literally, like,
30 days
Halloween.
ago.
like Halloween, trick or treat,
Yeah.
here you go.
Well, they've been in. Green and Turk have been in, and it's shrunk because of inflation, and it's continued to shrunk with inflation. And I guess no one's asked this question, I'm sure it's already been picked over, and this project is thin as it's gonna get. But you're not gonna do it, you can't downsize it. No more downside.
That goes to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, we got 1600.
Double barrel culvert system down below. No, can't reduce the length of it,
Because of where the culverts lie.
and because we're trying to build up field. Into the culvert.
I think this
and
is,
then down.
it's a big, I mean, there's a,
But we flood.
between the city and the water company, there is no communication. With 2 meetings in the last 4 years, that,
This is. Yeah.
I know, but I mean, even like Steve and the engineer, Richard, meeting with the city, you know, and I just feel like there should.
Vertical points in these campus.
Sure,
We just happened to reach the next one. And said, oh, shoot. And we called Steve and said, hey, we can meet us next week. And we didn't call him here.
Is it too early to go to other concepts to consider? Is it that?
Here's what I say. I don't know if the city has a, if the city is an entity in itself. Would be approved to pay for, to take debt, to pay for an asset, it doesn't own that asset, is how it goes.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna run into some real legal issues on that issue. So in order for us to take debt for an asset, we better own the asset. And we pay for it. At that point, we're only 1,600 feet of water, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's where these other concepts start to get introduced. Is like, hey, the city's gonna buy this asset. Do we have some sort of ownership of the utility? Meaning, Water Supply Corporation, it's a full distribution network is the city's. And we contract with the Water Supply Corporation for the water, and the city runs the water utility, the operation. Or is it something where there's some sort of contract arrangement with the billing or the city and saying, okay, hey, let's do this. The city will use the money out of its pocket, use cash on hand. And in return, we're basically loan money to the Water Supply Corporation that they pay to the city over several years through some sort of contract. So we say, all right, here's $550,000, we're going to contribute to this. Since we're contributing to this, we expect to get repaid over the next 5-10 years. There's a surcharge put on the water bill, and it goes in to pay the sinking fund that raised back the city. You know, some sort of contract like that. There could be a situation where we say, you know what, enough of this mess. Because God forbid, we get to the point where the city council says, you know what? We've exhausted all our options to fund this. We literally seriously can't do it because we don't own the dang thing that we're trying to fund. The only recourse at that point is to turn on the heel and say, the statute says y'all have to pay for it. I'm sorry. And at that point, if it goes that direction, they have no recourse but to raise rates on all these other things. Or that wouldn't be an issue if the water lines, the utility was owned by the city.
So you're
Right, so
you're
there-
talking a hostile takeover effectively.
I'm saying that's,
It's another option.
Well, go for it. See how far you get.
No, we don't want to do a hostile thing.
I'll take over. So it's simply the fact that if the Water Supply Corporation members, 600 of which exist outside the city, say, I'm not paying for the city's problem. They can say, have it back, city, not my problem, don't charge me, and then now it's the city's problem that we have to solve.
Oh, we get,
So-
how about we get along and you pay it back?
So that's literally the contract relationship. Yeah, you meet the loan, we pay it back.
No one's gonna be able to get a loan that's gonna be effective until like April or May. I mean, we're not, nothing's gonna start until January. Nothing effective is gonna happen as far as finance.
No, yeah, I completely agree. The 120 days to get all that, because they're gonna have to provide the books, all these other things, is the loan secured against, taxpayers, if not, is it unsecured? Who's fitting the loan? Is it Texas Water Development Board, or is it a outside bank? Co-bank or one of the others, so all that would still have to be figured out. For sure.
I think it could be a win-win situation for the residents of the city and the water corporation. Because, yeah, because we both have two clerks that handle billing. We have overhead for two offices. If you combine them, you'd only have the overhead for one office. I mean, it really makes sense. We've been working together as it is.
It's gonna be, one way or another, it's going to be at least the 400 people who were already Martindale Water Supply members.
This is out of the realm of the agenda for this meeting.
What, come on, Steve.
Absolutely.
How to pay for the water.
Agenda for this meeting.
This is just a workshop. This is
No
not.
workshop. Let's be open-minded, discuss. He's so open-minded.
Let's look at that at the standpoint of interest. What are the interests being discussed? Martindale Water Supply Corporation has an interest in its membership owned corporation and reducing the cost of membership. The city has an interest in reducing the cost to the city taxpayers. Those constituencies are the same. We're fighting over the same thing. The way I would look at it, I would suggest looking is what's best for them, not what's best for the city, not what's best for the water. What are best for those 400 people that are going to have to 1,000 that are going to have to pay for it one way or another? Which way makes the most sense for them? Because those are the people who are really affected. If this contract fails, they're going to have a $630,000 debt over their head. The contract succeeds and it goes forward, and the project goes forward, they have $550,000 they have to pay for a while. How it's paid for is going to get done either way. Those 400 people who are joint customers of ours are either going to pay $630,000 or $550,000, no matter what.
But
No
not,
matter what, they're going to have to pay for that.
not because of a Martindale Water Supply Corporation decision.
I agree, not because of your decision. You're not responsible for the decision made by the city council.
Other members of the Water Supply Corporation that aren't in the city limits, our debt service will extend out to
So
people
that's
that
where-
are impacted.
At least 400 people. You have other members, you have other interests, that's beyond the city.
There's 3,000 people, we have 1,000 meters, there's 3 people per household, there are 3,000 members that we serve, and you're gonna entangle them all. Most of them don't live in the city limits.
I'm focusing on the connections. The houses, 400, 1,000. I think it keeps it easier than to look at. Because that's what the bill. Either way, those 400 people are going to be stuck with a massive bill. There's no way out of it. We got into this thinking, hey, we got a $7 million contract. Oh my goodness, we did a great thing for our community. And now we're stuck in a situation where it's literally rock, 630,000 default on a grant, never get a grant again. Hard place, $550,000 to pay for a water. And it's the same people affected on both sides of the issue. So bickering over how it's done, I think matters. But it should matter in the way that reduces the produces the least cost to those people who are affected by bearing that burden.
Well, you've already said you can fund it. You've got your reserves. Do it that way.
And put that 400 people at risk that they might default when we then, their police department can go away. Their administrative staff go away. Basically, the city could be in a position where it's one strong storm comes in. And it's bankrupt, they filed bankruptcy.
You've got a strong storm right now. It's just not a physical deal. It's what you're in what's in your headlights right now. You don't seem to have a real solution except to hoist it over on the Martindale Water Supply
Hey, I'm a member of the
Corporation.
water. I'm paying them. I'm in the same boat as you.
Me too.
I pay Martindale water. So we're on the same, I'm
So,
trying to do.
Pony up $550 tonight and get everybody in this room to do it, and we'll help you out, okay?
Let's get together and have, and be polite and try and listen.
I'm being polite. I didn't put something in a document that says that you have the power to take us over.
Have a conversation, how we can solve this problem.
I just did. I said, go into your reserves and pay for it.
Use the scope of the project.
We already have done that quite a bit.
I know. And you still got nothing to show for it. You're out 600,000.
But you're gonna get a new line. You're getting a new line. We don't need a new line.
Okay, so I guess y'all don't really care if the city falls, not our problem, but y'all get, I don't wanna go into the business, but we.
Okay, you have reserves. You just told us you had reserves, and now you're saying
But
you're gonna fold. So,
Yeah. And we're all customers of Martindale Water.
okay, you're trying to put us in jeopardy for a problem that you created. You created the problem, not me.
Well, actually, no one in this room created this problem. No one was on council that voted and did this, okay? Huh? Yeah. No one was on council that originally voted for this grant, okay? So let's just be clear about that, okay? This is an inherited problem, okay? We inherited this problem, okay? I got on council over this problem. All right, because originally the scope of it was crazy. You know, it's been tamed down. I take a lot of harassment I gave to Jared over this for 2 years was to change the scope of this, so it wasn't a land grab, and it is actually going to reduce the cost a little bit because they're not taking as much land as was originally proposed. And it was going to destroy Northwest River Road. So no one in this room and on council had anything to do with the acceptance or even the pencil drawing. I have a PIR that's 283 files long, and I've read every email about how this was created, and it's no one in this room. I don't think there was any evil intent when they did it. But the flip side is, you have your interests, and I understand, and I'm telling you the same thing. We have ours. We both have to wear the hat of who we represent and what we're supposed to use as the best interest of our constituency and our position within the community. We represent the city, just like you represent the water company, and you're representing me. And I totally understand and respect that. I totally respect that, and I would say the same thing if I was you. The flip side is, what Jared's saying is, unfortunately, the water company approved their portion of the project. You were misinformed and misrepresented along the way that the city was going to be able to pay for it. Legally, the position is of the city that Jared's proposing is that it's still the burden of the water company. I don't want to go that route per se. You'd notice I've already tried to propose another solution. And I think Nick understands where I'm going with on that because he's very familiar with that part of the equation. I'm not happy with the answer I'm getting. I'm not going to dispute it that it's not the truth, but I'm not happy with the answer. That, to me, that solves the problem. And it would not provide a burden upon you. I still would hope that we would at least have a discussion to explore that and don't just olay it. And that would, in my opinion, I know that that extension of the road was approximately 700,000. That solves our problem, okay? Whether we can do it or not, we will try it, trust me, I will make them, they already know, I've harassed them about other stuff, so they know I don't leave them alone. I will make them at least explore that option, but for this purpose of tonight, we at least, if we even don't come to a solution, please understand this is a burden that we all share to some extent. We have got to come up with something that is going to be, you know, equal weighted of some ilk. No one wants to take the mean route, if you will.
Yes, and the city, because of the project. Benefit the entire city because it's the only
It's-
corridor within the city, so you, without it, you're disconnected. And so that's, if we got the, we looked at the,
It seems.
low water. When we looked at that, the entire city qualified for that.
It doesn't seem logical then to turn around and ask our members for $500,000 each household. It's supposed to benefit both.
It's the old Martindale Highway. It's a thoroughfare, and that's part of why we got the grant.
Yeah.
TxDOT doesn't bear that out. TxDOT doesn't bear out. The statistics don't bear that out, that Northwest River Road is approved.
The clerical support. You know. I'm talking. That's work. How much is that in an annual year for you guys?
Well, this is.
No, because it's important, because I'm looking at, let's assume it's $50,000. What if there's a contract with the city where we provide that billing service for free with no markup? And because it saves you $50,000 a year to service the loan.
You can't do our billing.
Certainly we could.
No,
We've upgraded our-
we bill on a water meter basis. Bills vary. You charge by a fixed rate.
Because we don't have the dynamic data. If we had the dynamic data, our systems are.
So we bill, every member gets a bill based on up to 10 gallons a month. Our meters are that accurate. So
Yeah.
you can't do
Our
that.
bills is- Over the last year, they can handle.
I think we've gone off topic.
Yeah.
don't think so.
I'm thinking of innovative ways
Out
to.
of thin air. To pay for. Let's do it the reverse. The city pays $40,000 a year in billing clerical services, give or take. If the city went out and got the loan for this, would you provide the billing services for free on behalf of the city, so we could take that 40,000 and pay for the loan?
We don't need to have this conversation because it has nothing to do with the topic at hand. The topic
It
at
has
hand
everything
is,
to do.
no, because, okay. Let's just say that we all agree and the city of Martindale is doing a wonderful job. And that's why after almost 3 years, they don't have any dirt turned over for this project, okay? I think we do a little better job than the city of Martindale on how we deal with our bills. We don't try to force our partners, which is really what the city, I'm done, not done yet.
You're getting off this.
Really?
He brought the subject up, Mike. Jared brought it up. And he's responding, so can he just ignore it?
So we're way off topic, like I said. We didn't bring a problem to you. You brought a problem to us. You asked us to be your partners on it. And what has happened? I didn't have any preconceived notions before coming in here. Honestly, I did not. I thought, well, the city of Martindale wants us to try to do a project together, but I'll tell you what. I've got some preconceived notions now, and they're not overly positive about the city of Martindale and how they want to approach their $550,000 or $400,000 deficit. And it's way different than I would do it, I'll tell you that. Way different.
So. You have issues with the file. You have issues with the.
I have issues with this whole meeting. And the reason I have issues with the meeting is because up until November 4th, as Steven said, we didn't even know this was coming our way. And now you're sitting there talking about taking us over, doing our clerks, doing this other stuff. What would, how does that, how, if you were an outside observer, how would you deal with that?
I'm outside observer, I'm saying two organizations bickering.
I'm not
over serving
bickering,
the same
I'm
people
bringing up facts.
Is really not serving the people.
You're
What
right.
I'm trying to do is brainstorm, sir, on potential options. Trying to get way outside the box on, is there a way?
Well, you've gone too far outside the box for
For
me.
you?
Yes.
For you, this is the stuff. This is the stuff. He's the president.
The point is, the reason. We brought you guys in to talk about, this is a problem.
No, you brought us in to tell us that you want to take us over. And that you want to do clerk and stuff. And that's how it's coming across to me.
If you have,
Basically. How about this? Okay, real outside the box. You can have an entire wastewater system.
I don't want it.
You can have.
It's a
You can-
pile
you
of
can- you
crap.
can take the entire utility. The city would be whole utility business complete. And you would have more opportunity to set rates to accommodate for all those services. And you can pay for it that way. I'm talking way outside the box.
So why are we replacing 20-year-old sewer?
It's a fresh water. Oh, the sewer lines that will get destroyed in this.
And there's no way to mitigate that.
Nope.
So you're replacing wastewater lines that are well within their lifespan.
You're not replacing, remember, you're adding to the other side of the road because it's all.
The sewer lines. The over or
Sewer on the north side of the road remains, what are we gonna do, sewer on south side of the road? Well, because of something,
We can't maintain the 9-foot separation.
Now we are off topic.
I hope
But that's
not,
fine.
because
Um,
the topic is, how do we solve for the 400 people that we represent jointly? This problem that's going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars, no matter what decision is made, whether to cancel the project or proceed. That's what it's about.
So what's the likelihood that they're really gonna fine you $600,000?
It's just never happened.
Well, you'll set precedent then.
Oh, that's a real nice answer. Good comment, buddy.
It's possible, there was, but they can't ask. you to
Right.
pay.
Anybody can fine anybody, but you could explain the circumstances to them. You could say, okay, here's what happened. We inherited,
We're going.
no,
No, it's about Northwest River Road project.
right, we inherited this Northwest Ridge Road project as a board, as members of the board for the city of Martindale. And we realized that the scope was not well thought out by the original people who did this. So we've inherited this, we're in this bind. How can you assist us with this? Have you asked that question?
You know, I really disagree with you. This was thought out very thoroughly, and there's been a lot of work done on this. I know that the membership in this room hasn't seen it because there hasn't been a shovel put in the ground. But the 5 different designs that our engineers have done, I mean, Langford has, these 4 people are really at the end of their work. the next step is construction. We just have to finish up the little bit of land acquisition and then we go into construction. There has been a lot of work done that you haven't seen. It
Well,
has been very
I didn't know
well
about that
thought
till a
out.
month ago.
Mayor Davini was the one who started it in 2019. I became mayor in May of 21 and got the phone call. I was the benefit of the grant being awarded. That's when a lot of the work for the engineers started. They graciously did the work before the grant was granted for free. They did it for free. They never do work for free. I mean, they shouldn't. They've got this huge education, and any engineer that, you know, I'm sure you wouldn't want to work for free either. But they said, okay, once you get the grant, then we we hope that we get the work and then we'll get our money back. And so they did that. So to say that from this concept that it was not done well is not true. Mayor Davini put in the application. We were awarded the grant under the Harvey, all of the money that was done under the Hurricane Harvey. Up to this point, what you haven't seen is all the groundwork. Now we're going to get the benefit. And because costs have went up, we've had COVID in 2020 and 2021, and the whole world has seen how COVID just spun costs out of this world. And now, just because we found out when we're ready to go out for construction, we went and did the costs again and found out, hey, we're about $1 million short. So we said, what can we do? So we cut the project down again, the S curve, clear back to the shoe tree. And then we're saying, let's at least ask the water board. And right now, what I'm hearing is you guys aren't willing to do absolutely anything. But it is your water pipes. It is your water pipes.
We're looking out for the 400 or the 600. Because I think that's a big difference.
We're looking at everybody.
We're looking at the total.
And we're looking at everybody too. And when it gets done, it's gonna be beautiful.
Additional sewer.
Have you been contacted by any of this?
Oh, no, I'm talking about the membership. Because I don't understand how we can sit here and not think of what's best for the members.
Okay, here's
Because
the
we
deal.
share-
Here's a
share
deal
the
for
same-
you.
Your customers are our customers.
Right.
Those are all the same. If we accept that those are the same, then we should be able to find the solution that reduces the most risk and reduces the most cost for those people. And the other, it sounds to me that the conversation is more, I'm looking for the full 1,500 additional and saying, I don't want to burden them with the city's problem. Which is fine, but you're leaving the 400 out.
No, we're not leaving the 400 out to do anything. We didn't start this process. You seem to not understand that. That's
Now-
right. And
now-
you say you didn't inherit this, even though earlier in the conversation, there was a mention that you did inherit this.
But you've asked us the city to apply for grants for the water department.
No, I haven't.
What
asked
if
to do
you
anything.
got in the same position? Well, Mr. Fonville has.
I'm glad to have a grant from the city for projects for the water supply.
And we would be
This is-
glad to help
This
you.
is not one that we initiated or asked for. So I asked my engineer just now, Richard, have you been involved in any discussions about any of these processes? And his answer is no. We have not been included in the loop for this project other than the initial consultation back in 2021 when we met with Mr. Turk. And the project was for $580,000 to fund the entire project.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, because I know at different design phases.
We-
Mayor knows
We've
on.
never been included.
Yes, you have, Steve. We've asked you to come down numerous times.
We get access to top, bring them in on the design. But along the way, it's, hey, we're still doing this project, is it okay? Yeah, that's probably okay. I think it's we only discovered the issue like Halloween. Well, brought it to you like,
That's all, we play the city, that's not on us.
Yeah, put it on.
that's on the city to get surprised. I don't understand it, sir. I don't understand your perspective. I don't understand. Anytime you learn new news, it's a surprise. It doesn't mean there's been this many. 20% inflation. If you wanna blame somebody, that's unforeseeable. That's never happened.
I just don't know if there's gonna be a solution for this other than somebody's gonna have to foot the bill. And
Exactly.
it doesn't sound like we have the budget to foot the bill. So I just don't know where we're, it sounds like we're just crashing into this over and over and over. I don't know what you want us to do.
So.
I really don't.
What I want to do
It's just like
is
so
find a
confused.
way that reduces the costs for the customers that we share them. Is there a way for us to reduce their costs? Period.
It sounds like you guys get,
Change the scope of the project,
We've already done that.
that's on y'all. You change the scope of the project to fit your budget. And we don't have it in.
It's always on us, Mr. Bond, like everything.
Will you not make those personal remarks, please?
Well, I have nothing else for you.
Oh, can I say one thing? Is it, are we willing for their engineer to talk to our engineer? Are y'all willing to go that far? That they can discuss? I mean, we can talk about.
Okay.
I don't know what they can discuss.
So here's where we're at.
That's what I'm just saying. Is there any way? I know what you're saying. Is there any- I'm asking. I'm asking them.
Right.
Is there any? Okay, y'all get together, that's a forum. To do what? To communicate, if we could do,
To do what though?
If we can. Call.
We're gonna reduce the cost.
But I'm saying, with the water on this.
We're gonna reduce. We talked about, you might be able to save $100,000 here, that's contingency there. It's still gonna be hundreds of thousands of dollars. The way to do that is rescope. Which is something that the water company is really. Broad statement. Sure, yeah. Something there to be done, but.
So I was on the GLO site today, I'm happy I've written on grants, managed a lot of grants. So this is kind of eye-opening for me. I had no idea what was going on when I came in here, but I wanted to read the grant because I write grants. So when I looked at what was left of GLO, there is still money remaining in this amount that they were distributing. If you are a grant writer, are you aware of that? And have you called the grant administrator at General Land Office and asked them what you could do because of the inflation? If that hasn't been done, I mean, I wrote for TEA, so yes, education is different than city, I get that. But if you haven't had a conversation with the general land officer and those grant administrators, that's where you need to start. As a grant writer, that's your responsibility.
Thank you.
You have any more grants. I'll figure out, because you are not the only one with a back, trust me.
I'll start somewhere.
Yeah, no,
It's very productive. I appreciate it. Very, thanks.
Well, if there are no more comments, I guess we could call this meeting to a close. Oh, yes. Are there any public comments? Yes.
You can say that. The government said that y'all inherited this, which is the. Did inherit this, but he said no one in this room said that's not true. Because Mr. Annabelle, he was directly involved with all of this. He was very.
I was referring to council. but thank
Well,
you.
you said no one,
Yeah.
but I've got a whole lot of. But I don't know if I'm saying now, but I will say. I strongly suggest to the city to not attempt to go do this. It's a very foolish, it's been foolish for a year, I've been going on and on about this. It was a slave cemetery, there's 40 unmarked graves there. And, you know, what, Mr. Clinton was talking about how the water backs up the ravine. And then you wanna take all the other water off the fields and have it merge there in the cemetery. It's just, it's gonna be a disaster, so, please keep that in mind. Thanks.
Yes,
I really just had questions, just a couple of things I'd like to clarify. Are you you're the grant writer, right? Are you also the grant manager? So do you represent the city of Martindale in the contract with the GLO?
We-
So. Okay.
there's numerous grant managers, depending on which grant we have.
This.
She started out as the grant manager, but she was promoted, and so now we have a different grant manager.
So no one actually, because in the last, guess it was one of the last meetings, no one on council actually knew when the final deadline was. As far as the.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
God.
Yeah, so we knew when the deadline.
So, can you tell me who's the city of Martindale? Langford or?
As Langford.
Yeah, who's the person that talked to GLO?
Well, I haven't seen, but I work with Martindale.
I like. Alyssa, what's your last name?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question, I'm sorry, y'all. Oh, and I'm sorry if this is a silly question. I think that, but I think that the water lines that you guys are trying to relocate are wrapped in asbestos. Okay, and which I'm not saying anything about that. I'm talking about, I'm interested in mediation costs and like how safe is that to do that right next to her? Because I think one thing we all can agree on is that is one of the most important things that we have. So what does that look like? Like, why would we even risk?
They are safe at where they are right now, is my understanding. They get tested quite frequently.
I'm.
I'm the general manager of the Water Supply Corporation. My name is Stephen. The pipes were put in the early 60s and they're AC pipe, they're asbestos concrete pipes. And they're stable to this point that we're tested frequently for asbestos particles, and they don't slough off any particles. The danger with AC pipe is if you cut them, or if you break them, or if you move them, disturb them. So normally they're left in place, they're left in situ. And you either sleeve them, you can utilize a technology to sleeve them with like a plastic sleeve. Or you can draw a device through them and burst them and pull another pipe through them and leave them in place. The danger is if you pull them out of the ground, then you're exposed to fibers in the atmosphere. Then you have to haul them to a class 4 land. So it increases the cost greatly for that. So the pipes where they are now and the location that they are now, they're fine.
All roads.
No, part of the run is AC pipe just past the cemetery, not very far, but it's not all the way to the shoe tree. And then from that point, it transitions to PVC pipe, which is plastic.
Sure.
Running or changing traffic. Well, this grant is not about roads, believe it or not, it's not about roads, about flood prevention, so. And that's the flood prevention would be the whole reason for digging up the road, not to widen the road. Or change traffic. So this is about flood prevention, not roads, So could you even implement? The statute isn't exactly on point. I used the language that's used in the statute. The widening or changing of lanes is the second reference on the section 552.105 is where that language is taken from. That language is specific to, water supply corporation with line in a tech stop road or a county road. And that's the language that applies to them. As it applies to municipality, it just says subject to municipal regulation. So the inference from that is that the city could execute the same series or more. So that's the copy, what you see there is the copy of the language of 105. I think it's the 102 references the subject to municipal regulation. And then offhand, when we were talking with the engineer, they said something that you know about is that the city can force it to move. My guess is if we did more research other than just a quick, 20 minutes on Google, there's probably some either not, regulations out there that other cities have had, other experiences that took place, maybe even some case law on that. There have been fights over that issue. We're just gonna get that far of analysis. That's why right now it's something that needs to be validated or for the purposes of tonight, accepted so we can work.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Jared, so did the water company sign off on this grant, or did you need their permission in order to sign off on this work? Number one.
Prior to
Okay, and
We
two,
never officially accepted this, right?
full confirmation with sense. Oh, you're paying for a new pipe? Sounds good.
okay, and then two is, and there's no wording in there that they are,
No.
thank you. Okay, that's why I just want to clarify so everyone understood that. Yeah, no, I'm just want to make sure that was a question. I think some of us would have had later, so I wanted to clarify that now because, we're all coming, it's overwhelming, I know.
Discuss. That position, right, and if they don't sign, which they're. Then it will go to eminent domain, but then there can be an appeal, right? So,
At that point, it starts going.
right, and so how close to January of 2027 does that push this?
Well, I think my other question is, looking backwards from there in 2027. We were to say, probably, for that. We're thinking, what, 9 months for your construction?
18.
18.
Yeah. So if you take 18 months, the worst case scenario, plus 4 months.
So you need a break on in January?
March, April.
I've said this, I sound like a broken record, I've said it probably 20 times.
There is no.
There's only about 8 landowners that we have to get acquisition from.
But it would take time to keep this in the court long enough so they won't have it.
And the cemetery.
And then there's this whole. And there's a water company. There are 3 really big roadblocks here.
And there isn't really a problem with Martindale water supply here. Because we are willing to work with the city, but we're not willing to assume the debt that the city of Martindale has assumed. And that's just
That's
that.
that, we're assuming any of the costs.
I think the.
Okay, debt, cost, whatever you want to call it.
It matters. It's funded.
Okay. We don't have the funding for this, is all I'm saying. And
Would you be open to where it's funded over time?
We just talked about it.
When we first talked to Mr. Bonville, he indicated that they could possibly move things around, that he'd go back and talk to the board about redoing the budget, and apparently that did not happen.
To the board, it's not possible. We don't have the funding to deal with this. We don't have it.
We don't have $500,000 just lying around
I'm not,
to do so.
what if it's not happening? What is $50,000? Is there $50,000 laying around this year? Is there $50,000 laying around next year? And can we come up with a 10-year contract to pay back the cost of it?
For a project that we didn't really have, except for saying, yeah, it's great that you're gonna put a road in and do the sewage and all.
What's best for the customer?
Yeah.
What's best for the customers is to see if you can talk to the grant people and see what they actually would say about, hey, if we don't do this project, or if we reduce the scope of this project to what is available as funds. I mean, it doesn't sound like that's been done. Has it?
Yes, it has been done.
They don't really take hypothetical questions from every city that they have a contract with and run it down the track to see if you can find it. They cannot say, probably not. No, they haven't seen it done. A lot like what Lakewood hasn't seen it done. But they're not gonna move on it until there's a formal request. Like, we wanna modify this contract to cancel the contract. We have not submitted that.
And I realize that it puts you guys in a big bind, this thing. But moving the bind to us is not really.
Actually, it puts you all in a pretty big bind too.
It doesn't put me in a bind.
Because once we start the construction, what are you gonna do about the water pipes?
I guess that's where it comes to that part number 5 or whatever in your little diagram.
So, I mean, we were trying to work
Number 4,
together
excuse
here.
me. No, you're not trying to work together.
We are.
You-
You know what started as something very positive? Wait, what started as something very, very positive, getting a grant. Everybody was so excited. We were gonna get a new road. We were gonna get water mitigation. It was very exciting project. And so it's kind of disparaging to think that it's kind of come to this.
City expending.
70,000.
Yeah.
How much?
70,000.
Sounds nice.
Plus labor.
Sounds nice.
The city will never have the ability to fix that section of road. Ever again.
Yeah.
There are not grants for roads.
I
They're
get,
not really that many great grants for stormwater. This is a grant for stormwater, happens to fix a road while we're doing it. But this is the only way.
And as citizens of Martindale, it's all of our problems. It's not just the city's problem. So I think it's a very positive thing to move forward on, and I'm excited about getting the project done. It'll be really nice when it's done. I mean, new water pipes, new sewer pipes, new road.
City council, when it all made sense. Now it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. You're asking us to assume a loan for $580,000.
We're talking about a cost sharing.
No, let me finish. You're asking us to assume a loan for that.
We're just asking for a conversation, cost sharing.
Yeah, but
All we're asking.
It doesn't
for is
make
A
any-
dialogue, a dialogue.
Let him finish, he hasn't hardly said anything tonight, let him finish.
it just doesn't make it, unless you guys say, hey. Even that is just.
My thoughts.
It's just-
Comments at the bottom was because I don't think we have to come up with new money to do this. I think the money's already there and it doesn't involve the city putting itself at risk of bankruptcy to do. The money's there by creating economies of scale with a larger customer base and cutting overhead costs. If there's a way to cut overhead costs between our two organizations who are serving the same people, they can pay for it and place nobody at risk. The only problem is there's a lot of damn egos standing in the way. Why one? Because I, for the life of me, can't understand why we're sitting here having a debate about serving the same damn people. We should do what's best for them. And maybe it is walking away from the whole group. Maybe it is an option that we look at, but those same people, those people in the city are never gonna get a road in that area. Those people on Plains Rock, they're gonna have the backward flooded every brainstorm that comes through, every Martindale. We're all blue.
You're talking about.
And you're gonna be driving through a lake in the middle of North Road by the schoolhouse every day, and those potholes are gonna keep appearing over and over, because we can never report that section of road because it's always flooded. And the cement, the asphalt that's there, the chip seal, whatever is there, it's paper thin, man. We don't have the ability to pave that section. We just don't. So if we're talking about serving the people, let's serve the damn people and get our egos out of the way and do what's best for them. If we can cut overhead costs, damn well we better do it.
You're talking about 40 residences and we're talking about over
No,
1,100.
who are living, 400 households,
But
who who provide a property tax base to the city. And are also paying customers for a sewer system and, solid waste services,
Paying
and they're
water.
also paying customers of yours in the water company.
But there's only 40 individuals that
The
are.
only thing that makes it clear to me is, y'all look at the other 600 who don't live in the city. And if that's your intent and that's your interest, by God, have it. Have it. And let the rest of those 400 people come back into be managed by the city, and we can reduce their overhead costs, and we can manage it ourselves. But don't stand in the way of it.
Where are we standing in the way?
Can we,
You're saying, get no grant. You guys bought that horse. Get off the grant, cancel it. Maybe that's option we go in, and we
So
do that.
so why is that standing?
Because it's hurting the rest of the community to do that. We're never gonna be able to
So,
fix the road.
so
or
what
do
the
anything
city of
productive.
Martindale,
We're gonna give, put it this way. We have almost $5 million in construction, a valuable benefit and assets that we invested in our community. And you're saying no, because you're protecting the interests of the people who live outside of the community.
no,
That doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm
can I real quick, can I talk to all the board, not just you or any Bonneville, and all of you? Are we willing to sit down and at least have a discussion about doing what you're proposing? At least have a discussion. It's your,
Exactly.
about combining the services, finding ways to make
Here's
it.
overage cost.
Use, we had to at least have that conversation. That's all I'm asking.
so you want to partner with us now? After the coercion hasn't worked.
You can have all the utilities. That will allow you to take the city's.
So you want to throw your problems onto us?
I'll take your problem, give it all to us. I didn't care
We
either
don't
way.
want to give it all to
You
you.
want to be split. You like the division of power, so
No.
that you have the ability
I
to
don't
stand
want
on the stuff, protect the people outside of the city. And that's fine, but then don't put the rest of the 400 that are in this. city with the-
Anybody. I'm looking at
Between our shared engineer cost, our shared operator cost, our shared building cost. At least $75,000 on the city side, probably $75,000 attorney cost. All these costs are shared, we don't pay. We don't have the people to just willy-nilly support 2 lawyers, 2 water and wastewater operators, 2 sets of building clerks, 2 general managers and administrators. On a tiny little community, that makes no sense.
So what I think would have been smart for the city is to come to the water board, because it sounds like it really needs the water board approval. That's what it sounds like.
Don't you think
So-
that that's what we're doing?
No, let me finish. They would have been smart. Hey, we got a grant minister. Let's look at the next 12 months.
We don't get grants in 12 months.
No, let's look at the next 12 months. What grants can we look at to help the water? To
Well, that's
give the
another
water-
conversation and we're
That's- I
willing to
think it
do
would've
that.
been- That's a great idea, but we come to the meeting and start asking for 580,000. You guys have an idea? Well, why don't you get a loan and we'll figure it out, you know, it's like.
Well,
no,
that's
why
what
don't you
this
come to
meeting
the
was
table, come
for.
to the Table and look, hey, this is the next 12 months, we can make you $500,000, $1 million. We can replace infrastructure.
We can guarantee.
I'm just telling, I'm spitballing.
We'll work on you guys.
Let me
$5 million worth of grants.
check this. The location of the project is in the highest value area of Martindale as far as property values. And we have projects that we would like to do in lower income areas that are not in the city limits, but they're in the ETJ. I'm talking about Greenhouse Road, where we have lower income individuals and we would like to develop a new water line there with fire hydrants and fire protection. And we need grants to do that. We just completed a project that cost us $150,000 to flood proof 2 small subdivisions that are not within the city limits of Martindale, but they're in the ETJ. So the location that you pick is not conducive for what the general membership of the Water Supply Corporation needs and what the board of directors of the Water Supply Corporation, our charge is to protect. Is the general membership of the Water Supply
You're
Corporation.
protecting the general membership and letting everybody else have to.
I mean, you guys are talking about 40 houses, maybe 30 houses along Northwest River Road, and those are high value, property value. That's,
Just because the property values are worth a lot doesn't mean people.
well, no, I'm not saying that.
But Steve, what his position is the liability risk on this whole project is for 400, not just the 40 that are on Northwest River Road. The financial liability that is being created here encompasses the whole city, not just the ones that are being impacted. I live on that road. I was not here. Jared will tell you, and I've told him many times, I wish the project never happened. I didn't want the project. That's just my opinion. I don't have a choice in the matter. It was dealt with me. I went to, as Nick will know, I went to every council meeting for a year and a half, and now I'm on council. I went and yelled and screamed a few times beforehand. And I'm on the board because of that project. I didn't get to vote on it, obviously, because I'm impacted directly. But, you know, the risk is all 400 residents, home sites, if you will, inside the city. And I think that's what, you know, Jared's trying to, you know, get through is that it's not, I know you're responsible for all 1,000, but there's 440% of the water board's customer base are financially at risk with regard to this project. I'm not saying we're gonna find a solution tonight. I think it's something we all need to digest a little bit, and obviously it's new to a lot of people on your side, and I feel for you, because I was there when I moved here, and I read this little thing in the email going, what the bejesus are they doing to my house? And it's a little bit to absorb, and I would say take, you know, what Jared's trying to say is, let's be, you know, sit back, relax. Just, okay, we know there's a burden. Maybe with a fresh set of, you know, morning eyes and some coffee that we come up with a little open-minded, and maybe Jared will be able to have a conversation directly with you guys about some other creative solutions and put pen to paper about exactly how there's a real way to make it happen. And what he's talking in broad terms is shared cost. And I know exactly what he's talking about because he knows I know the budget fairly well on our end. And there is a lot of, you know, utility costs are utility costs. And if there's a way that we can creatively save the money in a long-term way, that's what he's trying to go at. And just absorb it. You know, let's not, no one's trying to shove it down your throat. Just absorb it. Just think of it as a possibility, right? No one's trying to take over the water company. No one's, but there are some shared costs that are involved in a community of really only 1,000 customers. It's a small customer base. Well, we're financially liable for the 600,000, that 600 and some $1,000 has already been spent. So, well, we would be responsible, the 400 residents, 4 home sites would be responsible for that 600,000. Well,
Yeah.
because the GLO, if we cancel the grant, the GLO has every legal right to request us to pay Langford. The monies that's been dissipated already to the engineer and to the grant writer is our burden. If we do not complete the grant, yes, the city's burden. If we do not complete the grant, then we are, the 400 are liable. That is the contract.
Well,
The
that's
contract,
what-
it says, I have read the contract. It definitely says that. I didn't believe it. I read it. It says it. You are liable. That's everyone, it's the city. The city, as Jared said, the city assigned the grant. Okay, you can have a separate discussion about who it helped. Okay, you and I have had these discussions. I know that has nothing to do with the fact that it's a community. I totally get it. I totally get it. I mean, but that doesn't solve our problem. It's just fun fodder. You know, the solution is, you know, Jared's made some very broad thought process. He spent a lot of time on this. He's trying to be creative. He's doing the job that we are hiring him to do, which is to find potential solutions. We don't have to like them right now. We just have to absorb them. Please, please, please have an open mind and just understand in broad terms what he's trying to do and he's thinking about. And, you know, let's come back at a later time, hopefully sooner than later, because we obviously have solutions. I will definitely investigate my end. If I can find another solution, I will do it. You know what I mean? I don't like the path we're on. You and I have good discussions before, so we are on the same page, you know. But this is where we're at, you know.
Let me ask you a quick question. Say we were able to come to an agreement, and combine both of our, the city and water company. Would that be easier for us to get grants for the water company and for the city? So Mr. Fondo's talking about needing grants, needing money for upgrades. By being the city and the water company together, would that be beneficial as far as grant? Or is it?
That is, it's very positive.
Very positive. And then both of us being a very small entity, they're water company small, we're small, but combining forces would make us more viable for future grants. And then as we all know, the explosive growth around here, it's coming. It's coming for all of us. So it could be a beneficial partnership. But all I do is plead with y'all for at least to have a conversation. Just a discussion. We're not holding anybody, any contract here, we're just have a discussion of what Jared was talking about. And it can be a combined benefit for both of us.
I had a question for Matthew though, because I have 4 water meters myself in the city of Martindale. But you said the 400 people would be responsible for the 631,000. Is the city gonna bill us all individually? How?
No.
Collectively, you collectively would have to raise taxes.
Yeah.
And we would have to raise property tax.
That or your cutting service. Significant. You're cutting the police department, all the administrative staff, all you're left with is literally the mayor and nothing. And there might be a judge to do what, I don't know, handle there many cases that are on the docket. But it literally would bankrupt the city.
How does reducing our expenses make it fall on the residents of the citizens? How are you?
By being able to save costs, I don't have to raise costs to service the debt that would be created. So if I say, I'm gonna go out and get a loan for $550,000 and the payment on that loan is $20,000 a year. If I can say, oh, I'm gonna save $20,000 a year over here with some efficiencies. Then I don't have to raise rates, I don't have to raise taxes, I can cut costs and divert those funds to the debt payment. And everybody's goes on and nothing happens.
But the city can't just arbitrarily raise taxes for the residents, because the city council votes on it, and we vote every year on the increase for three levels of our taxes, so.
So, to the point of. Everybody would feel the burn either directly through, increased taxes. If we go up.
Increase property tax.
Increase property taxes. If you don't increase property taxes, you're cutting service.
It's budget.
You're significantly. Cutting staff.
Our staff is already so cut, as you know, your work one day a week, we are barely managing the operational as a city of this stand.
I want to add a real quick point. This is off subject a little bit, but if the city collapses, forget about your impervious cover. Or forget about the river. Forget about Kanban, forget about anything environmentally along that river, because the state's not gonna do it.
The county.
The
And the
city,
county's not gonna
the
do it.
county's not gonna do it, and you all get benefit from the city for protecting your backyard. We have stopped, truck stops, dumps, other things we've done to law enforcement to help the quality of life, and if we go away, it's over. You're gonna have a polluted river with not a proper discharge. We have something like that.
It's just gonna be set up right over here. You got it. The whole city would be Airbnbs and tubulars.
So now it's Martindale Water Supply Corporation's responsibility if the city of Martindale fails. Is that what you're telling us? I've had a conversation.
We're not saying that at all.
Environmentalist, environmental study, the appraisement.
There's a lot of places.
But,
No, it wasn't done.
they gave the money back to the city. But that get us out of here, you say, hey, kids, you're not going to college, hey, why, I'm not buying your groceries. I mean, that's a family that I would, hey, sir. Bring the free, to the city, maybe that's how we'll make it. No, the 20% inflation. No, take care of the inflation.
No,
It's a separate program.
it was additional money.
So can I ask a naive question? Already $600,000 has been expended through the consultants?
Yes.
Thank you.
Not just consultants. No, we were just saying it was land appraisals, it was environmental studies,
Survey.
surveys, all kinds of costs so that you can get to the point where you can do engineering.
It's been spent, $600,000.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
To only 550,000 versus 631.
Yeah, you would be looking at. Yeah.
I mean, why would we even talk about the 631? It would be.
Well, because she asked a question.
Well,
This is just the first.
right, and I think what you're really gonna run up against is that 2027 deadline. And it's gonna be the people that don't wanna play on your project. And they're gonna say, no, I'm not gonna sign here. You're gonna have to take me to court. And you're gonna have to go through that process. And I think you're gonna end up in the same situation you are now, 2 years from now. That's my opinion. My opinion isn't worth probably a quarter, but I think you guys are running up against deadlines that. I mean, you think Martindale Water Supply Corporation is a problem, and I get that. Because we're not cooperating with a venture that you initiated. And I understand that. I'm not here to argue about it. I'm just saying, I get that you think that, but I don't think we're the biggest problem you're gonna run into.
That's possible. It's possible, absolutely, possible. We're just trying to focus on this one tonight.
Yeah.
So, is it possible? Yes. So,
Are y'all willing to have a conversation down the road? So, I mean, good,
Just
that's
let-
good, that's good, it's still, the democracy is not pretty, it's good, it's a good thing, but please welcome.
Pardon me?
Are you talking about water? Yes.
We have reserves that are dedicated to the, Water Development Board, to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and to CoBank. There are frozen accounts. Not anywhere near $500,000.
yeah,
Well, get those budget numbers that we don't have to fix in November. I'm a little more familiar with the building and see this, and we are, I mean, we go down to the non budget. We do budget a little extra, but as Steve said, nowhere near. I mean, maybe 30, maybe. But then we're robbing Peter to take costs. We're taking money out of a dedicated project fund, like greenhouse roof, which we spent a lot of money for because it was put in some standard days. We got 60-something of water, right? So that is in need of a lot of infrastructure repairs and maintenance that the board has very wisely budgeted for. And kept those rates as low as possible. And I understand that we have a water rate, and it's because we have to pay for this stuff. And so, you know, I mean, we're not paying money.
So just like, Martindale's got an opportunity here to fix some drainage problems. The Water Supply Corporation has an opportunity to replace the 65-year-old line too. And I'm thinking, based on all the things that I've heard tonight, if Gary and I can go back and find some savings, city might be willing to forward some road. Do you think you could find some scraps for some money and pull it together and try to make the project work?
Our current budget is, cash revenues are about $1.4 million, but the expenses are about $1.25 million. So there's very little room there. So we're nonprofit. So
And
there's
we-
not very much room there.
We increased our rates, what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
By 50%. 50%.
Looking great.
And we didn't want to do that, but we were gonna go insolvent, just like the city of Martindale is gonna go insolvent if they have to touch their reserves. We're all running on a shoestring.
To leave that,
We can't afford this project.
can we at least have it discussed?
Not without deduplicating. From an engineering perspective, really the only practical thing that we can do to reduce cost is to take the culvert system, the 2 7x4 box culvert system, and reduce it in size by $550,000. I don't know exactly what size that is, but practically speaking, that's the only thing that we can do.
Can you read that?
And that's,
no,
you know, that's a city decision. I've been through this painful process already, but it looks like we're not done.
But isn't reducing the strength of what it was for hazard and flood mitigation, and now you're talking about making the culvert smaller, and as long as protect them along that road. I mean, even the people that own the schoolhouse wanting to come and ask, are you still including fixing their driveway, or you cut that out too, or what? So the schoolhouse is concerned about their driveway. And so it sounds like we're making cuts all around. I was on the board like many years in the city council, and I keep in direct contact through going to the board meetings. I am the only city officials, the only city council person that goes to these meetings. I would like to see more milestones in meetings from Langford. I think I'm the chair, I think I'm co-chair of Langford zoning, but I have not seen one milestone meetings. I have not been in the meetings. I have not been asked to go. I sound a little upset and stuff, but we don't know that there has been lack of communication between the water supply, between the city, between the grant writers. We all have done more so, I think, but all of us have just not been in the whole process. I really think that we have, and Jared, bless you, but we need someone that's gonna be with us, with the city more than one day a week. Things have fallen through cracks, things have fallen through continuous, you know, and we're seeing the result. And we're doing as a result.
No, this isn't a result of it. This is just a result of inflation. Sam, it's a result of inflation. It's higher costs.
I'm talking to them. We will. To have Jared come on, we can talk, discuss when.
Listen, we have a meeting tomorrow night. And we're gonna talk about all this.
Promise?
We'll come, somebody talk to the city after our conclusion of that meeting.
Meeting, that's appropriate.
I think that's a big thing. We got a lot to sort out. We're digesting right now. A lot of people aren't talking because they're probably in digesting.
But this is a great meeting. It's been contentious. We've had little incidents here, but it's about communication. We're communicating. I think it's a good first step that we have this, because it's the first time we've had this interaction with the board because of forums and that kind of thing. But I think it's been productive. At least we haven't, we have hit each other. So
You're too far away, Mike. Too far away.
I want to thank everybody for coming, especially Jessica and Alyssa from Langford. I know it's a long drive and it's a long day. Thank you very much. And Gary and Thomas, thank you. They've come all the way from Spring Branch. And hopefully we can keep on track, and I know it's going to be a positive outcome come January 2027. We'll get there. So I'm going to call this meeting to an end.